Today marks a significant milestone in our nation's ongoing commitment to building resilience, strengthening our capacity to adapt to climate change, and ensuring that we safeguard the well-being of our people and the sustainability of our environment. Currently, St. Lucia and most of the CARICOM member countries have no formal integrated policy document which guides the provision of meteorological services, but have implemented policies and govern and regulate one or more meteorological services, but not the group of meteorological services that are required to be provided. This policy provides a framework that will guide the modernization and strengthening of our meteorological services. It will help us enhance disaster preparedness, support critical services such as our agriculture sector, energy sector, tourism, water, and ensure that St. Lucia remains proactive in responding to challenges of a changing climate. We are honored to have you with us today, our regional partners, the private sector, civil societies, members of our local communities, our media. Your presence here underscores the collective recognition that meteorological services are not only about weather forecasts, they are about protecting lives, informing key decisions, and supporting sustainable development in every sector of our society. I wish to commend the dedicated efforts of our stakeholder, our Met division, who have contributed to the development of this policy. Your collaboration reflects the spirit of partnership that is essential to our national progress. As we officially launch this policy today, let us reaffirm our collective commitment to ensuring that its implementation is practical, inclusive, and impactful for every St. Lucian. Once again, welcome and thank you for being part of this historic occasion.
I'm quite happy and pleased to meet all of you, and I'm happy to address you on this special occasion as we launch the National Meteorology Policy of St. Lucia. I would like to begin by expressing heartfelt gratitude to Honorable Minister Stevenson King, Senior Minister and Minister for Infrastructure, Ports, Transport, Physical Development and Urban Renewal, and the Government of St. Lucia for recognizing the value of meteorological services and for their unwavering support in advancing this critical area. I also wish to acknowledge the invaluable contributions of Permanent Secretary Ms. Lenita Joseph, who is not here with us today, and the members of the local drafting team whose dedicated work made this policy a reality. A special thank you goes to the Caribbean Meteorological Organization for developing the regional meteorological policy and encouraging us to adapt it to our national circumstances. This is a step that greatly simplified our work. The ongoing partnership is vital not only to strengthen St. Lucia's national meteorological and hydrological services, but also to support all national hydrological services across the region. This successful finalization of this policy is a testament to the collective efforts of our meteorological service, our government, and our regional and international partners. This journey towards this achievement reflects the foresight, wisdom, and commitment of all involved in bringing us to this milestone moment. St. Lucia, the National Meteorological Policy, is of great importance to St. Lucia, especially the Meteorological Service. For a number of reasons. Over the years, the country has faced increased climate vulnerability, enduring tropical storms, namely such as Hurricane Beryl last year, 2024, heavy rainfall and flooding, drought, extreme heat, and hazardous seas. These events continue to pose growing threats to our economy and society as a whole. This policy addresses long-standing coordination issues, sets standards, and ensures regulatory compliance with both national priorities and international agreements. Most importantly, it provides a clear mandate, strategic direction, and framework for the St. Lucia Meteorological Services to deliver essential weather, climate, and hydrological services. It is a crucial step towards strengthening our preparedness and resilience against the growing impacts of climate variability and change. For many years, the service has carried out critical functions on behalf of the government, including providing accurate weather forecasts, climate analysis, and timely warnings of meteorological and hydrometeorological hazards. However, this work was undertaken without a formal guiding policy. This policy not only establishes accountability, but also positions the St. Lucia Meteorological Service as a key contributor to national development, supporting vital sectors such as disaster management, agriculture, water resources, energy, transportation, infrastructure, tourism, and health. By creating a clear framework, this policy enables the service to provide timely forecasts, warnings, contribute to climate change assessments, facilitate data sharing for global scientific efforts, and ensure public safety. It is designed to address both current and future societal needs. It will ensure that the Met Service remains a relevant, effective, and trusted institution. However, there are challenges. While this policy represents a major milestone, much work remains. The service is committed to expanding, improving early warning systems, supporting communities and key sectors, and building resilience. However, the gaps are we lack sufficient human resource, the limitations in observational infrastructure, and the need for modernization of technology, data, and information management systems. Investments in upgraded and new technologies, including exploring artificial intelligence for forecasting, will be essential to transforming the capabilities of the St. Lucia Meteorological Service. Addressing these needs will not only strengthen national forecasting capacity, but also ensure that St. Lucia can remain at the forefront of climate adaptation efforts. And the way forward will be that the National Meteorological Policy is both timely and necessary. It reflects the government's commitment in addressing weather and climate-related challenges and provides a foundation for future legislation and institutional strengthening. This policy will underpin a robust business model for the St. Lucia Meteorological Service and guide strategic investments to enhance its operations. I call for continued and increased investment in our National Meteorological and Hydrological Service to ensure that it has the capacity to deliver on its mandate. With collective effort and sustained collaboration, this policy will serve as a catalyst for a stronger, more resilient St. Lucia, one that is better equipped to face the challenges of extreme weather and climate change. With this, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Sotivas, for your remarks, and thank you for your leadership as you lead the Met Services in this undertaking to develop this policy and the legislation to follow. Yeah. At this time, Ms. Sotivas rightly outlined the invaluable assistance provided by the Caribbean Meteorological Organization. So it is my distinct pleasure to invite Dr. Arlene Lang, who is joining us virtually, to give her remarks.
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I stand on the protocols observed, but would like to make a special acknowledgement of Honorable Stevenson King, Senior Minister of Infrastructure, Ports, Transport, Physical Development, and Urban Renewal, whom I had the distinct pleasure of meeting finally in person at our council session in the Virgin Islands in November of last year. I would like to thank the Ministry of Infrastructure, Ports, Transport, Physical Development and Urban Renewal and the Government of St. Lucia for inviting me to participate in this milestone achievement. The launch of the National Hydro-Meteorology Policy. This is a major achievement because so many of our members do not yet have the legal underpinning for the services that they're providing. Population safety, security, water, food security, energy, social and economic growth, and increasing prosperity, as well as the improvement of public health and enhancing resilience to weather and climate extremes, are really issues of fundamental importance for every government. To address these issues, it is essential to have a national meteorological services that have the required scientific, technological, and human resource capacity to monitor, forecast, and issue warnings of severe weather, extreme climate events, as well as providing high-quality weather, climate, water, marine, and related environmental services on a daily basis. To that end, the government of St. Lucia is taking a concrete action, a major concrete action today to support its national meteorological services with the legal underpinning to carry out its functions, which are critical to the safety and well-being and economic development of your nation. On a daily basis, the St. Lucia Meteorological Services contributes to sectors such as aviation, marine transportation, water resource management, public health, renewable energy as an emerging and ongoing new sector, as well as, of course, disaster risk reduction and tourism, which is a major product for St. Lucia. The Caribbean Meteorological Organization, a specialized institution of CARICOM, is especially vital in this era of increasing demand for information, services, and early warnings. We, as the headquarters unit in Trinidad and Tobago, we represent the region with international organizations such as the World Meteorological Organization and the International Civil Aviation Organization. And we're proud to support the daily operations of our national meteorological services, and we facilitate cooperation among them. The road to today's event began some years ago when it was realized that only 2 of our members actually had explicit legal mandates for their national meteorological services. And we were approached by the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, which also had the goal of developing harmonized legislation across its members. To that end, the CMO headquarters approached the Climate Risk and Early Warning Systems. This is the CRUISE initiative, which had embarked on strengthening national meteorological services in CARICOM countries. And we proposed to them that they incorporate the development of legislation and policy as part of the CRUISE first phase. And we're very grateful to them and to Environment and Climate Change Canada for that support. And in June of 2021, CMO members endorsed a model hydrometeorological bill and meteorology policy that was developed through that program. We subsequently engaged with the St. Lucian Meteorological Service and its parent ministry to adopt the policy and the model bill to your national circumstances. We're so very proud of St. Lucia for having been one of the first now to enact a national policy for your national meteorological service. I would like to note that the WMO actually has included the model bill and policy developed for the English-speaking Caribbean in their guide, their global guide for national meteorological and hydrological services. This means that the Caribbean is not only following global trends, but we're also in this regard a leader. And so St. Lucia should be very proud of being on the vanguard of establishing your national meteorological policy. This policy that is being launched today empowers the St. Lucia Meteorological Services to be the authoritative voice for issuing warnings of severe weather in your country. This is a key component in the delivery of the UN Early Warnings for All, which aims to ensure that all persons are covered by early warning systems as one mechanism for adapting to a variable and changing climate. CMO headquarters is very pleased to have worked recently with the World Meteorological Organization to implement the Common Alerting Protocol in St. Lucia, and this enables the dissemination of information on multiple platforms simultaneously through a variety of media and working with your stakeholders within St. Lucia. And we also are very happy to have organized and implemented this with our regional experts. One of the things that CMO has really emphasized is regional capacity development. And with the Common Alerting Protocol training, this was delivered by experts from Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica. And we've followed that up working with your stakeholders in St. Lucia. And I encourage anyone in the room who has not seen what was developed or who was not involved to have a discussion with Ms. Saltibus and really make sure that you're engaged with this process, because this is the endorsed mechanism by WMO for disseminating information and warnings with regard to evolving severe and extreme climate events. We have been collaborating, of course, since 1977 in the formal WMO Hurricane Committee, which was advocated by the first coordinating director of the CMO, Mr. Berridge, and that has ensured that no one is surprised by a hurricane. So the Hurricane Committee meets annually, and have always been very proud of St. Lucia's contribution to the Hurricane Committee. More recently, in 2016, the WMO launched a severe weather forecast demonstration project, which has now converted to a severe weather forecast program. And this is ensuring that we are also covering non-tropical cyclone severe weather. And one of the impetus for the launch of the severe weather forecasting program was, of course, the deadly Christmas Eve into Christmas storm of December 2013, which devastated St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines in particular. We are now committed through the severe weather forecasting program to ensure that there is within the weather services the capability of warning and forecasting on severe weather events that are not related to tropical storms that can occur any time of year. Further, in support of strengthening the legal and governance framework for the St. Lucia Meteorological Services, CMO headquarters, with the support of the crews and the WMO, will be developing a strategic plan, which will include a national framework for weather, water, and climate services. And we remain committed to supporting St. Lucia and our other member states in addressing the challenges of a variable and changing climate. Additionally, we are looking forward to being in St. Lucia for the 69th session of the Caribbean Meteorological Council and related meetings, which will be held from the 17th to the 21st of November. And Rodney Bay will be the venue for those meetings. Beautiful Rodney Bay. I am so pleased and looking forward to that event. And I congratulate St. Lucia once more on the launch of your hydro-meteorological policy. Thank you very much.
This morning, we've heard quite a bit from the director and, of course, from our own director here at the National Meteorological Service here in St. Lucia. Some of what I will say in my address more or less mirrors and reflects some of the essence of what has been said earlier on. And that in itself is an indication of the significance, the importance, and the timely presentation and launch of this policy here today. As you've heard from Dr. Lang, we are not just international followers. We are trailblazers, blazing the trail, leading the way for others to follow. And I do hope that this will continue beyond today's presentation. Let not today be a fancy presentation that is captured by the media and applauded by those who are present, but one that will continue beyond the walls of this conference room. And so it is indeed a tremendous privilege for me to address you at this gathering this morning on the occasion of the launch of the St. Lucia National Meteorological Service Policy 2025. Permit me very early, therefore, to first and foremost extend my deepest gratitude to all of the partners and stakeholders who have made this vital official policy for the Meteorological Service of St. Lucia possible. Special thanks goes out to the Permanent Secretary and the Deputy Permanent Secretary of the Department of Infrastructure, Ports and Transport for the dedication in pursuing this policy and legislative agenda. The Caribbean Meteorological Organization headquarters for coordinating and formulation and regional endorsement of this policy. The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, for the Water and the Water Resource Management Agency for their continued support to our meteorological services, which is vital in the implementation of this policy and advancing national efforts to address the climate crisis that we are currently facing. This policy demonstrates a significant step towards achieving our important and shared mission to provide the country with reliable weather, climate, and water-related early warning and other services, and to mainstream meteorology in development planning and policy formulation by the government for socio-economic development, which cannot be overstated. In this regard, the National Meteorological Policy of St. Lucia is developed to contribute towards enhanced meteorological and early warning services to the people of St. Lucia and to support socio-economic development of the country. The policy prioritizes 7 issues. 1. Monitoring and forecasting of weather and climate. 2. Early warning services for hydro-meteorological hazards. 3. Climate services. 4. Management of meteorological data and information. 5. Meteorological infrastructure. 6. Capacity building and awareness. And 7. Cross-cutting issues. St. Lucia has a high risk of weather, climate, hydro-meteorological, and marine hazards, including heavy rain, tropical storms and hurricanes, floods and associated landslides, drought, excessive heat, hazardous seas, high concentrations of Sahara dust, and volcanic activity. As such, the country's medium to long-term development strategies recognize as a significant overarching priority the need to build resilience and address the impacts of climate change across all sectors, and a commitment to incorporate climate action into national planning. The Department of Infrastructure, Ports and Transport in particularly prioritizes improving weather and climate monitoring, prediction systems, and information and knowledge management systems as one of the key pillars in the government's strategy for climate change engagement. In this regard, St. Lucia has developed various policies and frameworks related to climate change that provide general policy guidelines on climate change at a broad and long-term scale, including the 2018 National Adaptation Plan and Sectoral Adaptation Strategy and Action Plans, and the 2015 Climate Change Adaptation Policy, all of which are silent on growth and development of the meteorological sector. These policies, therefore, provide limited room for weather and climate action and services, especially at the local community level, with respect to weather and climate-related issues, including addressing weather-related hazards, climate, and early warning services. In addition to addressing these gaps and complementing existing relevant policies, the National Meteorological Policy has been developed to strengthen the national meteorological services and enable them to translate climate knowledge into tangible products, services, and solutions that should enhance the lives of residents and operationalize the country's climate change policy frameworks. It will assist the government in meeting its weather, climate, and water-related meteorological responsibilities to the citizenry of the country, as well as deriving benefits from services offered by the National Meteorological Service of St. Lucia. The government, therefore, is committed to sustainably improving the National Meteorological Service, indicated by its support for the policy, which directly supports St. Lucia's national medium to long-term development strategies. It is a crucial step to manage climate change, enhance the resilience of vulnerable communities, and ensure every citizen has access to early warning services in line with the global initiative of early warnings for all. The meteorological policy, which is centered around the national medium to long-term strategy, aims to position the St. Lucia Meteorological Services to be able to contribute to integrating climate information into all national and local plans, particularly in sectors like risk management, agriculture, infrastructure, tourism, energy, water, health, and air transportation. The Meteorological Services of St. Lucia is charged with driving this policy by improving service delivery through operationalizing the policy and working with key agencies to improve the country's early warning systems for meteorological and hydrometeorological hazards. Now, let me deal with national meteorological legislation. This policy is a critical cog in developing the country's national meteorological legislation to enable effective performance of meteorological services in the country that meets the society's needs, and for maintaining and enhancing the authoritative role of the meteorological services in the provision of services mandated by the government. It is the desire, therefore, of this government that irrespective of whether meteorological services in St. Lucia is conducted by public, private, and or academic sectors, all agencies or institutions conducting meteorological service should have their activities supported by clear national legislation. There should be no ambiguity regarding the authoritative voice of the St. Lucia Meteorological Service, nor should there be when it comes to warning, forecasting, or the collection of observation data, handling metadata, and other information that may be of a confidential nature or accessing public data. This should not be left to the vagaries of personal understandings or ad hoc solutions. Guarantees regarding such activities must be enshrined in national law so that all stakeholders understand clearly their rights and their obligations vis-à-vis the meteorological service in St. Lucia. Once again, I appeal to you to make this the beginning and not the end of our commitment to meteorological services, policy, and legislation. Once again, I extend my sincere thanks and appreciation to all of you who have made this initiative possible to this juncture, as I eagerly look forward to the next bold steps ahead of us. I thank you.